Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, board games, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing. And over here, hello, this is the person whose first name is Chris. Their surname is Backe. As they always say, it rhymes with hockey. But I don't know if Chris Backe is necessarily a big fan of hockey. But regardless of their name, I know Chris has made many a game, and he submitted it to the LDEC contest. And that was not much of a test. In fact, it was hopefully something you enjoyed. And that might mean that the game was employed as a game. And board games, is what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hey!
Hey, Jazz.
Good morning, and hello to you, Jess. And
Morning.
well, it's good afternoon or good evening to Jess, who's based in Thailand. And Jess is apparently eating a roast with an IPA, multitasking away. Some amazing food in Thailand. I mean, roast what? Roast yam? You roast yak?
Oh no! If it's a roast, it's
Roast
going to be yeah. Well, that's funny. I never thought of a roast as a way of preparing food. I would just always assume like it's a piece of meat some way that's been roasted. But yeah, I'm sure that vegetarians, vegans could roast like mushrooms or some other vegetables or something.
Like you could have, but and apparently it is roast beef.
Okay.
And morning, Andrew January. It is lovely to see you. And this is, of course, the Bezzy Bedtime Board Game Bledder. I am Bez. We are bleddering about board games, and it is bedtime in some countries. And today we have Chris Backe here to chat about their game Deductabell, which you entered into the LDEC design contest. I think you were actually the first entrant for this year. How does that make you feel?
Pretty cool actually. I put it together over the span of maybe a week. Did enough playtesting on my own to confirm that it worked, and then realized that I have a very good habit, and actually a very bad habit, of of doing something like super focused for a little while, and then putting on the shelf and forgetting about it. And knowing my propensity to do that, my plan was to get it ahead of, just to get it in today, and then have it done. So even if it was ahead of deadline, that was fine. My thought process was to ensure it got in before the deadline, because if I didn't, I would put it on the back shelf, and then, knowing my luck, I would see an announcement from you, Bez. Oh, only 3 more days left to the deadline, and then I go, crap. Where the heck did I put that file? Where was I in development? How do I finish this up in 3 days? Why did I procrastinate so freaking long? So
what I'm hearing is like that, get stuff done, just get it out there, just so it's done, so that you can, because it's better to have it done than try to get it perfect.
Yeah, I mean, done is better than perfect, to be sure. And with any game, and I've heard this from published designers, even with games that are completely printed on the shelf, there's still improvements to make. You can continue improving a game for the rest of eternity, but at some point it just needs to ship. At some point it needs to go. And you're going to acknowledge that it won't be the perfect sort of thing. And whenever you have a design, and I've heard this also about books, about music and whatever, there's always room to improve something creative, because you're always learning, you're always improving. I'll go
And
back
that
to a
whole
game
thing of
concept.
something's never finished, it's all only abandoned.
Exactly. And I have a lot of abandoned projects. So I can go back to them years later and be like, why did I abandon this? Oh, yeah, I never did figure out how to do that, dot, dot, dot. Sometimes it's just you lose interest in a thing. So it's easier to return to it with some fresh optimism, some fresh eyes, and then say, right, what's the best way to tackle this going forward?
Hmm.
And uh, and
And I
actually,
think we'll get more stuck more into this approach and, the game itself and what this game is all about. And also, just a quick recap of the LDEC design contest in a few minutes.
sure.
And just to catch up with the chat, we have Tales of Yorkshire Pudding in Thailand, which to me quite boggles the mind. I mean, this is a stereotypically English thing. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we had it in Scotland growing up, but yeah, Yorkshire pudding. Do you have this? Like
Yeah.
the fluffy kind of pastry, it rises and then you just pour gravy on it.
Um, I don't think I've had that personally, but it does not surprise me to hear that it's available in Thailand. Thailand has a number of British expats that have chosen to spend some portion of their retirement in a warm tropical place. Beautiful scenery, beautiful people, lots of
Hmm.
good food, but they still like that taste of home.
I'm going to consider it myself, although I may be a bit more adventurous. And thank you very much, Jess. And um, a preview of our quick questionable questions. We are going to
I
find
am.
out where Chris is from, but not yet. First, we need to talk about brilliant thing, brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? I want to talk about letters, not letters that come through the post. We talked about that with Antoinette, although technically we talked about post. So we could talk about letters specifically, but I think that parcels are generally more fun than letters, let's be honest. But I just want to talk about letters, like the things that we put on the backs of boxes or to write with, or that come up on the screen. That's right there where it says brilliant thing. It's a way of communicating ideas. And I mean, this whole system of writing, I mean, whether it's phenome based like English or hiragana, or whether it's a meaning based like kanji, or, to be fair, it's just communicating ideas. That's pretty brilliant.
Yes.
You seem unconvinced.
I've never really thought about it. I've used letters most of my life.
Hmm.
It's not until you find yourself in a situation where you're surrounded by letters you can't read that you're reminded about just how important they are. I'll go back to when I left the U.S. to go to Korea.
Hmm.
Went to Korea in 2008 to teach English to some kindergartners, and they're always looking for native English speakers to come in and teach English. So I arrived in Korea March 2008, and got picked up by the principal of the school. He took me to the school provided apartment, and then it just happens to be a Saturday, so I've got a couple of days till the first day of class, and I'm going, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, where's the grocery store? Where do I find food to eat? I've just been dropped basically in a foreign country, and I know I could call for help if I needed to, but I do have a bit of pride.
Sure. And
So,
I guess that
so
brings us to the point that illiteracy is an issue even in the UK. And, even there's a lot of adults who just are still struggling with this, which, it's not, it's kind of something that you just, I think most people watching this will just take it for granted and maybe think that, oh, yeah, everyone in my country can read and write. But it's probably not the case.
yeah, the other thing to consider, so to come back to the whole Korea thing, as so Korea uses the Hangul system, which is basically letters pushed into syllables.
Hmm.
So you look at one sort of block of letters, and it's one syllable. Um, this is a fascinating system that could be an interesting TED talk. The short version of it that it was created by a Korean king that was intentionally designed to be simple to learn, even by the average farmer commoner in the 16th, 17th century. Today, you can sit down with a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and kind of begin to grok it in about 2 or 3 hours. You'll get more practice as you go about it in your daily life, and you'll also quickly learn that Korea uses a lot of loan words. The Korean word for Coca-Cola is just Coca-Cola, you know. So
Hmm.
um,
Well,
there's a lot
Coca-Cola
of
is Coca-Cola everywhere.
yeah,
That's a brand's name.
but there's a lot of other loan words. They take a lot of loan words from Japanese. They take some from the U.S. and England and so on. Um, Supposedly they take some from like Spanish and French and whatnot. They just transliterate it into the Korean language. But what was fascinating and perhaps frustrating was that when you first arrive, if you didn't study this ahead of time, which I didn't, you go, how do I read this stuff? Everything's in Korean, and of course it is because that's Korea. When in Rome. Um, so you learned the language by necessity. Um, you can sort of get away with the point and smile approach. You go to a menu that's got big pictures of the thing, and you just go point, you know, and that works. But you can't do that all the time. Um, there's any number of stories where the English teacher has gone to the grocery store and they thought they bought thing A because it looked like thing A from their home country. Then they take it home and they go, "That's not the flavor I wanted. That's not the thing I thought I bought." So yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's really impressive how that whole system got generated, and the history of Hangul is for sure fascinating. And let's talk about something more personal to us. Recent highlights, maybe playing some games, going through life. What are their names? So, recent highlights. I'm going to say that my recent highlight, I've played arguably two games. I kind of did a roll and cook, which I more watched than actually played. The explanation was a bit too fast for me, if I'm being honest. It was my first time trying an online play along, and
Okay.
I turned up. I maybe literally 5 minutes past the hour when it started on the hour. It was already yeah, like the first round was already over, and it felt like, wow, this is pretty quick. But it's an interesting game about kind of rolling dice, turning them into ingredients, turning those ingredients into special ingredients, and then turning the special ingredients and maybe basic ingredients into amazing dishes for victory points. It's all about the points, as always.
What's it
The other
called?
thing that I played was a kind of scavenger hunt, an online scavenger hunt that Nona Knows Games created. I don't know, have you heard about this Crazy 88 thing that Nona made?
Crazy 88. I
So
think
this is not a known. I don't think this is an established thing. So basically, what Nona did is they had a list of 88 tasks the first time.
mhm.
This time it was like 50 tasks, and it's things like that you have to take a photograph of, and then you send them in. Instead of a scavenger hunt where you're kind of running around the world and finding things, this was a scavenger hunt about finding things in your game boxes, or
Oh.
putting them together, or assembling things, or drawing things, or doing simple tasks. So it would be, for example, have a song that you could um, listen to or enjoy about a game, and then
Mhm.
you need to record this song and send it to Nona, and then, hey, have a photograph of some green board game pieces, and of course there's like about 10 for all the colors, and then like there's one where it was um, recreate. Actually, I might be able to show you a picture um, of the one that I did. If you go to my Twitter, I'm going to just. So there's Chris's lovely face. These are my recent highlights. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. Um, this was my breakfast, although I only had it at like 6 or 7, I need to really start having that was PM, by the way. I had been awake for about 12 hours, and I think that's not the healthiest thing. I need to start eating sooner. Um, oh, where's my other bit? Here we go. So this is the cover of a board game using non-board game components, and so you had to recreate it. So yeah, I was quite chuffed with that.
Interesting. Yeah, I know that they did. I think it was called Virtual 88. It was definitely like an 88 item scavenger hunt in. I think it was for the VGC, the Board Game Geek and Dice Tower Convention. And I've definitely actually participated in one myself recently. The PAX Online Discord server has uh, some amazing things happening. If you have the chance, it just started yesterday, I think, and it goes until next Sunday. So you've got about a week to check out everything that PAX is doing. They are also working with PAX Australia to put on some of the tabletop stuff in what they're calling the collaboratory. So shout out to that. If you're looking to play some games, play test some games, that's where that's happening within the PAX universe. But yeah, I was curious. You were talking about this roll and cook. What's it called? Is it in published?
Oh, it's literally called Roll and Cook.
Okay.
It's on
Nice.
BGG.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the sheet for it. So roll and cook.
Nice.
There you go. Roll and cook. And hello, I do want to say good morning to good evening. Prey it's very late at night for Prey. So good night, Prey. And yeah, Prey's on my team. So I'm going to be doing some stuff about the colors today, and Prey did like a really nice US flag out of components, and so
Nice.
we're working together, and it's quite fun. It's a shame that we don't have more things, but it's a really nice kind of focal point for the whole weekend. And
Yeah.
morning, Jay's full guard, and yes, sleep soon. That's totally fine. And yeah, I think that yeah, playtesting, other brilliant things. Let's move on to the questionably quick questions, if that's cool.
The triple Q.
So, Chris, where were you born?
Hammond, Indiana, about an hour from Chicago in the U.S.
Huh. So, quite a rural town?
Suburb, small city, considered suburb of a big city.
Okay. What time do you normally wake up?
As late as possible, usually around 11 a.m.
Ooh. Where do you live now?
Currently in Warsaw, Poland.
And how many years did you live in the USA before you became a digital nomad?
Let's say 26. 26 before becoming an expat, and then have been an expat or a nomad since 2008.
Oh. Good night, Prey, and thanks for doing the city. That's another task. We've got to make a city out of board games.
Nice. Oh, wow.
And so what is your favorite drink today?
Well, I've got the coffee right here. So coffee in the morning, sparkling water in the afternoon, and usually some white wine at night.
Oh, so would you say that you and your partner enjoy a white wine most nights?
I do. She doesn't.
That's fair. And what are some of your favorite things to do?
Well, long walks on the beach are always great. Sleeping is an underrated activity that really needs to be thought of as an activity. You consciously choose to do it, and then you fall unconscious. You choose to spend long periods of your time. You usually dedicate an entire bedroom to this activity. There's a reason they even call it a bed room. It's the room where game design has been a really fun activity for the last few years. Traveling has been a big part of my life for a decade plus now, and the notion of being told basically you either can't travel or traveling is a lot harder now is definitely adding some challenge to life. But traveling has been a part of my life for a long period of time.
I mean, Jess's bed is hard. I don't know whether to commiserate them or whether they're happy about having a hard bed. I mean, my question is, are you happy with your bed, Chris?
No, not really. It's on the small side. There's at least one spring that kind of pokes out somewhere around the midsection. Um, there are some things I could do to fix it if I wanted, but I don't really concern myself with it too much because I'm usually pretty fast at falling asleep when I'm ready to go to sleep.
I mean, as long as it doesn't develop into any backaches or anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, moving into the super personal, what's your favorite thing about me?
I don't think I've ever met someone that has been quite so singularly obsessed with a single color. You are very branded, Baz. You are very known for your red. Do you own, perchance, do you own a non-red shirt or non-red trousers?
Yes, yes, I do. At least one. I own, I believe, 2 shirts and yeah, one. Yep, at least
Okay,
one.
interesting.
And come to Thailand. You can come in. It'll be expensive, but once you're in, you can go everywhere in Thailand until the government asks you to leave again after 90 days. It's what Jess is saying to kind of allow you to travel.
Yeah, yeah. You usually get 3 months on a tourist visa there.
And yeah, there was a point when I did go out and buy a lot of red stuff from especially charity shops, and I didn't throw them away. That seems wasteful. You know, I gave stuff away or yeah. But oh, hi, Xate. It's Xate. It's lovely to see you. And so moving on to the main topic du jour. Actually, no, that's not so questionably quick question. If anyone has questions, then we can. But at this point, let me just remind people to comment, ask questions, thumb like, follow, and let's talk about it. It was actually decryptable, and I kept getting that wrong. Decrypt. Sorry about this. This entire show's name is wrong, but you never mentioned.
Well, funny story. So, like I said, this game kind of came together pretty quickly, and it changed names multiple times. It was always the notion of decrypting something, but for a while it was DE-cryptable. I wasn't sure if it was an I or an A that should come right before the bell. But I basically kept it to what you see there, the Deductabell, with no dash. And just to confuse myself even more, sometimes when you go into Google Drive, where I store all of my rule books, you can search by name. So I was searching for the rules for this, and I had forgotten that the file name for that is DE-CRY and so on. That dash makes it difficult to find it. So I was like, Google Drive, why are you failing me when I need you the most? So it turns out I've had multiple versions of the names, and that can be a lesson. That's a teaching moment for all of us to remember to try to keep things consistent with your names, your terminology, and all that other stuff.
Now, what I thought we'd do is kind of start off with so a quick recap of the LDEC contest, talking about why you entered, then go through this game, and we can talk about contests in general and your experience and how it was for you. And hopefully we can go through that in about 40 minutes-ish.
Sure.
So, a quick recap of the LDEC. Hope you're all right there.
Yeah.
So the LDEC is this deck for those people who don't know. You there's two letters on each card. If you don't know, then go back and watch many of my previous episodes. But basically, it's a game system. There's many games available for it, and before it was even a thing, I was like, okay, tell me your game ideas and you'll be on the box, which is the only reason that here Aaron Redding is on the box. Because,
Nice.
they submitted an idea. And that's, at the time, literally all it was. Whereas David Brain, Andrew Dennison, and Daniel Barker did do a wee bit more. But I want to make it so that every year there's a brand new headline game. And then when I released it, people were submitting games, and I was like, okay, what can I do? Let's make this into a contest. And then every year it's kind of mutated. And so I've tried to be like, what ideas can other people offer that I would not have come up with myself? And so it's really always been more about that early version of the game rather than having necessarily a fully finished game. Of course, if it's a bit more developed, then it's going to be easier to playtest, and I'll be able to more easily say, yeah, it's going to be good enough, but at a certain point, I'm wanting to work with people to make these games as good as possible.
Definitely.
So, how did you hear about this LDEC design contest?
Probably from you on Facebook.
And I remember you checking in with me to say, hey, is this actually a thing? Where can I enter? Which says to me that maybe I wasn't spreading the word enough.
Well, one thing that I've noticed with some contests, and and I think this just comes with as a contest gets bigger, you're going to find people that hear about it from multiple places. So what I've often seen contests do is they'll have a landing page or a specific place where everyone goes. You can go to one place, and then that one place answers 99% of the questions. So as a result, you don't have to spend all this time going back and forth on a social media thread and then hope that people can still find that down the line. So you have the landing page that gives all the details. You have the link to the bottom, or at the bottom, that gives you the entry to the Google form or whatever you want to use to actually create the contest entry. And if there's other requirements, other things that have to be done, then those also get put on that landing page. But that landing page is the central place where a contest gets talked about. It's the thing that can be shared on social media. It can be hard to find a social media thread, on Facebook, on Twitter, most anywhere, from more than a couple of days ago, unless you've taken some fairly special actions to find them again. So yeah, I've definitely seen a landing page work, and I don't remember what you had at the time. So this is the Google form, and I think this definitely has a lot of information on it. So I think the challenge is then just finding it, bookmarking it, remembering to come back here for the information.
Yeah, because I don't even have a bit.li or tiny URL link. And it would, to be fair, I really should have a link to this from somewhere on my own website, which is a bad point for me. And hello, Xates has managed to summon Odin. So hello, Odin, it's lovely to see you. But yeah, I'm going to absolutely accept that feedback that A, it should be linked to from my website. B, there should be even if it was stuffbybez.com/L contest, or maybe just contest. And then if I ever have another contest, then I could, put both of them on that page or something.
Yeah. So the one thought process here, because this is a yearly thing that you do. This is a thing that you've done a couple of times now. So you'd have one page that is the persistent reference point for all things Bez contest, and then from there, you have like everyone will know to look at Bez's contest. Go to stuffbybez.com/contest or whatever the URL ends up being. When you like that becomes the one place you update. When you have an update, then you put on social media, hey, I've just updated the contest page with the winners from the previous contest, the public feedback from the previous contest, the finalists of the current contest. I'm ready to announce the next contest, and so on. So you have one central, consistent focal point that's both easy to remember and easy to bookmark.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, this probably ties into my my whole online presence. I mean, my social media's probably fine, but yeah, in terms of my websites, it is pretty rubbish.
It can be improved. Everything tech has
sure. Well, if it's rubbish, clearly there's room for improvements. I mean, if it can't be improved, then what's, I'm not saying that, oh my God, my website's rubbish and there's no possible way it will ever be improved in the history of humankind. And yeah, but yeah, that's absolutely a fair point. I have had my principle in the past has just been sharing it to places and telling people about it. But as you say, there's no one central link that someone else could then say, yeah, here. Odin says website isn't the best. Time and focus are obstacles. That's what it comes to, like so much to do. But I mean, it is good to be reminded of these things. So thank you very much. The other critique that I have had is that maybe it's not super clear that that I allow for, oh, sorry, my share screen went away. This little bit that what would, with a little bit of development, make the best new core game. And that is a key thing, that I am happy to do a little bit of development. Now, what is a little bit of development is, a very vague term, but it's basically, okay, do I need to make some broad structural changes, or do I need to do this? But so you entered this contest. Yeah, good shout. So you entered this contest, you shared this game, which we can see here, with all this information, and then I read through the rules. I think I told you that yes, you've entered, and then made a stream as part of the testable thing. Last year, we actually shared all the feedback verbally. Either via audio files or via written stuff. And this year, I know how to do streaming. I've gotten Chris to make me this. I'm just going to lift this so you can see. I've gotten Chris to kind of do this, which is basically.
Oh, nice.
So that was by Christian Hacker Hearn, which was from a thing I think inspired by Chris Backe here, where you said get a selfie stick and a microphone stand. And thank you very much for that. And awesome. There's little things that kind of connect them together that Chris said, okay, that's what you need. And so,
nice.
So, yeah, we got that together so I could do things on my table, and then we did a whole testable stream. Now, how did that work for you in terms of this is how you're getting your feedback? How was that feedback process?
I actually really liked it. The notion of watching a game played when you're not able to respond to it in real time was a little jarring at first, but then I realized it's not my job to add feedback to this point. This isn't a blind playtest. I'm getting the opportunity to watch someone else playtest my game, hear their thoughts and notes real time. If I were to suggest a place for improvement, the only one would be maybe some sort of like a text summary afterwards with some timestamps. So around 30 minutes, we talked about the structure of the game and how we felt it wasn't quite as good as it could be. Around 20 minutes, someone made a great point about how if you try ... But I ended up watching pretty much the entire playthrough and took good page of notes myself. So
yeah, I know that that's a great thing that you've done for the talks that you've got on virtualplaytesting.com. And to be fair, like the reason that I did the streaming was partially because I didn't have the energy at the time to do much, if any, writing, to be honest.
then that's
And
fine.
so, but that is duly noted. I would, like each year, we'll try to build it up. So I'm going to definitely take all of this feedback on board. Speaking of which, I've not taken any notes today for my recap. Even just timestamps for the different games in the YouTube description.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, so how did you? Let's go through the game if that's fine
Sure.
with you.
Sure.
So,
So
do you want to start off with the development, or do you want to just start talking about the game as it is?
I'll talk about both actually. So Decryptable is a game where one person makes a secret word from some cards that are laid out in a face-up row, and then everyone else is trying to figure out what that word is. The original concept came from a game of Mastermind, or Hits and Bulls, Hits and Cows, Cows and Bulls. The game where you have the colored pigs, right? So kind of logic, kind of deduction based. And right around that time, I heard of your contest, and I thought, well, how would you make a mastermind-like game with words? And obviously, that had been done before. Mastermind is probably best known as a game with colored pigs, but they also released a version, the same exact mechanics that just involved letters and letter tiles. So with the LDEC, because you have two letters on each card, it can be unclear as to which letter you're actually referring to. So you can have lots of letters, but you won't know which ones are in the word, which ones are, even which card is in which order. So I thought that might be an interesting sort of puzzle to solve by starting with this notion of you've got these cards in a row. Which order are they in? But even then, which word or which words can you make? So as you play, you're basically asking, is this card in the first position? Is this the first letter in the word? And you'll say truthfully yes or no. Is this card in the third position? Yes or no. So over time, you'll figure out which cards go where, and from there, you might be able to guess what the words are. So, yeah, that was basically the game as submitted.
So that's really. It started off. I played it. I think the first time that you had an idea, we were in the middle of a playtest on a Friday that we used to do as carrying on the Friday daytime playtests, which are part of Royal Festival Hall. Until I think eventually, we stopped it partially because for me, I think what I really miss most is just going out and seeing other people. And I realized, this is just not something that I want to continue doing. And to be fair, for me, like this daily streaming is a much more enjoyable way because it's all about the conversation. And I don't think that, yes, I'm looking forward to getting back to designing. Anyway, so the point is we were playing that and then I played a couple of ELL games and we would say, hey, I've got this idea. Can I try it out? And then we tried out your idea. And it was a lot more like Mastermind, where we would create a word and then you would say, okay, there's one letter in the right place, right letter, one letter, that's the correct, it was correct card.
Yeah.
Wrong place, correct card, correct place. And so it started off very differently. And then it moved towards being, okay, is this the first card? Is this the second card? And just to summarize our feedback, the big complaint that we had, so if I go into it, how we tested it. So we tested it with 3 players. It was myself, Chris, and Layla. And we enjoyed the notion of, okay, once you've got a few words, then you are going through letters. Once you're thinking, okay, what could the end bit be? Because you don't want to reveal too much information, because you don't want to make it too easy for the other person. So certainly there's an interesting part, but it felt like that initial part of saying, okay, which one's the first letter, which one's the second letter, and that seemed to be what the game was pushing us to do.
Yeah, there's definitely this is going to be one note that I've already sort of improved it, and I don't know how appropriate it would be to talk about the new version versus the contest submitted version, but the version that I've basically put together now is when you get a yes, whatever that yes might be, you do get a chance to guess for free. It doesn't become the thing you have to wait to do. So if you get a yes, you get to guess for free. If you get a no, then your turn is over. You go on to the next person. You might also, I thought I put in the rules, but I apparently didn't. You are permitted or perhaps required, depending on the level, to give like a one-word clue. And what I'm channeling here is the TV show Wheel of Fortune, where you get that category at the bottom of the screen to show like, what kind of thing it is. So is it a place? Is it a person? Is it an adjective? Is it weird? You know, you could come up with some interesting categories. The only rule is that it must be accurate. The other thought that I think you made a lot of good points about the scoring and how it felt more like an activity than a game. And on one level, as it was playtesting that, I remember thinking that's okay because I want this to be something that's fun and easy to pick up, like a lot of your other games are. In retrospect, I probably would have paid more attention to how the scoring works because beyond being the method of determining who wins, for anyone that is a competitive type, they're going to want to learn how the scoring works and whatnot. So I do have a couple of new thoughts on that based on feedback from your video.
And so what's your intentions going forwards with this game? Do you think you're going to work on it a bit more and playtest it and get it ready for next time around, or do you think that you're going to leave it here realistically?
Well, on one level, that depends on whether it wins or not.
Whether
it wins or not. No, I do.
Well, sorry. The reason that we're talking about it, sorry, I didn't realize this wasn't clear. So the reason that Deductabell, and we are allowed to say that you made it is because it's been determined that it's not in the top 5 essentially, and so anything that so tomorrow, like I'm allowed to say that Actionable was made by Xate and Alex, and tomorrow we're having No Evil by Andrew January, who's going to come up because it's more a reflection on, okay, you submitted this game, it didn't quite make it, but let's talk about it, see what happens.
Yeah, I think what I'll probably end up doing with it, because it is so attuned to the LDEC, I'll probably make some changes with it, play test it a little bit, and maybe kick it around a bit more for next year's contest.
Cool. So in retrospect, I mean, you've got one takeaway, which was the scoring, which is kind of scoring is just a really good way to incentivize particular behavior. And even if people do say, okay, you know what, we're not going to worry about the scoring, at least it tells you this is what you're trying to do. And I mean, let's be honest, in How Much Money, which is a fun part of the game that we played, you're trying to guess the closest to how much money it would take someone to do something without going over. Alan Outson has made the point that there's nothing in there to force the daredevil to actually be honest. But to an extent, there's no reward to the Daredevil, to not be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they could give an absurdly high or an absurdly low, but what's that achieving other than annoying other people, frankly?
Yeah, if you find if in that game, what I've found in told playtesters is that if you find yourself playing with trolls, choose to not play with trolls. Uh, Alternatively, you might find that person A is always going to give some ridiculously high answer, so you adjust your answer to match accordingly. You might get fooled the first time. If you get fooled a second time, that might be on you. So if you,
I mean, I
yeah,
think that it should. There is a. I mean, it's kind of like a moderator position in that game, isn't it? Because in how much money, and we've got a quick question. Odin asks how many entries you got. I got. It was 16 entries from 9 designers, I want to say.
okay,
And I think there was at least one entry that had 2 designers, and there was at least one designer to who submitted 3 things.
nice.
So there was at least one designer who only submitted 1 thing. And so it's quite nice to have that variance in that people were able to engage in all sorts of things. No, how many entries did I get to? Was 16. I don't know why you say 3, Andrew. But anyway, so going back to the thing of the maximum number of entries per person, I've put the limit as 3, which was the very first year. Someone said, hey, how many can I enter? So I'm like, well, I'm going to say 3, but if you really think that you have more than 3 blooming amazing ideas, then get in touch. And yeah, but realistically, you kind of should be able to work out, okay, these 3 games are better than my other 20 games. Because if you're making more than 3, you probably have a sense of what's good. But I don't want to stop people from entering a lot and putting in a lot of work. It's just maybe
there's something to be said about knowing that a contest is not the appropriate place to fling spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. That happens during your early development tales, and over time you get a better sense of what is sticking, what is falling off the wall, so to speak. And it also becomes part of the natural winnowing process by having that limit of 3, and it could even be 2 or 1. You have the sense of I am submitting the very best thing I could make in that time period. It may still have room for improvement. There's still going to be things that might not work, but this is the thing that I think is the best of what I've made for this particular contest. So no, I don't feel bad about having a limit of 3 at all. I think that's a perfect limit. For someone that might want to enter more, I would encourage them to continue playtesting the mini games that they may be thinking about making, and then come back with the very best 3. Full
so it's
stop.
also about having things where, and I kind of said, okay, there was a question about co-entries, like if person A and person B are allowed to enter at the same time, and I basically had to invent this rule in the past 6 months, where someone was saying, hey, I want to enter the contest with this other person, and I want to enter my own entries. If I do some co-designs, does that mean that I can do fewer personal designs? And it was like, yeah, that doesn't seem right. So let's say it's 3 entries per person. And so if all of them are co-designs, then you can do 6. And it's up to you. Frankly, if it gets to a situation where someone has like straw accounts, if you know what I mean, to say, oh, this was done by Jill Doe. I don't know who Jill Doe is. Maybe they're a fictional person. And Jill Doe doesn't even exist. And, I worked with Jill Doe just so that you can submit 6 games. Then, like, if I find out that someone did that, then obviously I'm going to think a lot less of you as a person because you're actually lying to me.
Honestly, what I would do then, I would just make the rule to be as simple and clear as possible. Your name appears on a maximum of 3 entries, whether that is you by yourself, you as a co-designer, whatnot. Again, because the aim here is to choose the very best ones, right?
Yeah, but the aim is also to get a lot of to encourage activity around the LDEC
Mm-hmm.
and to have people be excited to share their stuff. If someone is able to make 10 legitimately good games for the LDEC in a single
Mm-hmm.
year, which I don't think is that far out with the realms of plausibility, then I
Mm-hmm.
think that, hey, if you've only just gotten this, but you can submit 10 amazing games, then okay, if it's just you, then maybe not. But if you start bringing other people in, if you're
Mm-hmm.
actually bringing in other real people, I'm almost going to say, that should be rewarded. And so maybe it's like your name can be the first name on free entries, and
Okay.
then so it's like maybe the other person could be like, I mean, this is the kind of thing that I need to nail down a bit more. Um, wouldn't it discourage cooperation if your name can only be on free? You wouldn't want to share those limited entries. This spoken like a very spiky person who always wants to win. um, but yeah, I totally get what they are saying, and
I
yeah,
mean, it's entirely your choice on what the goal is with the contest, and it sounds like the goal of the contest is to encourage as many entries as possible. So
well
in that
thought
case,
out entries.
okay. So in that case, maybe you don't need a limit then. Maybe
I
the
mean,
fact that
basically,
each.
the reason that there's a limit is to make it so that I don't end up having to play a whole bunch of games that have had no thought put into them.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that there's at least one person out there who would one day just submit, 50 things that they've not even tried playing. And
Mm,
that's going to be, yeah.
yeah. So I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to have a limit? Do you want to not have a limit?
I don't know. Like, this is a thing. Like, I mean, other contests usually have a limit. And then why is there a limit? I mean, I guess the reason is
Admin.
firstly, big admin, that's it. And like there is a lot of work involved in running it, in um, reading through these things and deciding, okay, is this an actual good game? And before I played them, I read them all and I pondered them for, an hour or so. And like I wrote little notes for myself to be like, okay, this is what's going on in this game. So that when I read it the second time, sure, it might have been a few weeks and I had just read, 20 entries in a few days. So not all the details are going to stick in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I did at least have something to some initial, okay, this is how good it's going to be. If I
Mm-hmm.
end up one day with 50 entries or even more, then I, it's going to start getting harder and harder. I'm going to have to not even playtest everything,
Mm-hmm. Well,
potentially.
for better or for worse, a lot of games, a lot of contests, especially games or especially contests that have lots and lots of entries, they tend to have sort of the winnowing phases, right? They look at the
Hmm.
sell sheet
Well,
for phase
that's
one
exactly.
or the video for phase one, and then they
Nah,
might play the stuff for phase two. So, I mean, there is that classic philosopher saying, "More money, more problems." In this case, more games, more problems. So, as the number of games scales up, your ability to give each game the playtest it deserves could become harder to do. So maybe that would be the case for keeping the limit on it, but also potentially, depending on how many entries you end up getting, creating something that proves the well thought outness of the game, such that you're only playtesting the best 20, the best 10, the best whatever.
I mean, I think that I'm going to probably keep a soft limit of free and say if you're working with, I think that's the rule as I had it for this year, where it was okay, if you're working with two people, then you know you can have 9 entries. If you're a group of three, you can have
Mm-hmm.
9 entries, as long as the three of you are legitimately doing something for the game.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that actually incentivizes the kind of behavior that I want to see, which is bringing other people into it. For someone to say, hey, I've got these ideas. Oh, I've got too many ideas that I know what to do with. Okay, let me try and bring someone else into the fold. And now we'll work a little bit on this together. And now that there's two of us, we can submit more games. Frankly, if someone brings their partner into it or their friend into designing games for this contest, then I think that's the thing I want to incentivize.
Okay. Excellent.
I mean, I wonder if it should even be slightly. I mean, this might be slightly harsh. I don't know. I'm thinking like, nah, that's probably too harsh. I was thinking if it went down to 2 per person, but then I'm thinking, out of everyone who submitted 3, um, how good was their third best game, in my opinion? And do I
Mm-hmm.
instantly know this was your third best game? Do they know which was their third best game? And that's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
because parts of it is my ability to say, hey, listable, sorry, Javier, but this is really close to categorical. There's all these issues with it. And
Mm-hmm.
he, or he, I mean, don't Sate and Alex never expected to win with Actionable, but I still had joy from seeing that crazy idea, because it's basically a mashup of Inner Bind and words and what's going on, and it totally doesn't work, and there's so much work to be done with it, and it's like, okay, there's enough work to be done on this that I am not doing that work, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed them submitting it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the thing. And they had a lot of fun and they put actual work into it. And so, as long as people are going to do that, I think that 3 is the right number. And thank you for talking through this thing with me, because
Sure.
we've, but, so what lessons do you think you've had from this game? Like, so you talk about in the rules about the difficulty levels, whether it's very easy, medium, hard, or master. Um, what was your thinking behind that? And do you think, I mean, it's not quite in retrospect, but do you think at this point that this was the right decision for what you were trying to do?
Um, the original thought was to create obviously some different difficulty levels for people as they got more comfortable playing the game, but also depending on who they're playing with. If I'm playing this with a 6 or an 8 year old still trying to put words together, very easy is more than enough challenge. If I'm
Hmm.
playing this with some wordsmiths, some really hardcore Scrabble players, the very hard sort of difficulties become more possible. Um, so hard and master are really there for the adults and the people that really enjoy word games. Very easy and easier there for the kids that are looking for something simpler. Um, so on one level, the one idea behind the game was that it could work with a lot of different types of people. Making more cards leads to uh, kind of an exponential number of possible words.
Hmm.
So as you begin so you have a larger universe to start from. You still end up narrowing things down until you get to the final word. But you start with that larger universe to consider, so that makes the game go a few more rounds.
And I wanted to talk about this player count that you've got, 3 to 10 players. Um, Now, with a higher number of players, yeah, obviously it's going to take longer in between your turns. With 9 people trying to guess, it's going to be quite a while until you get your next guess. What was your thinking behind the upper limit of the player count?
Um, well, I never had the opportunity to play test at 10. I thought 6 might work. I thought 8 might work. Um, in general, games like this, where you're still doing something when it's not your turn. You're still listening to what other people are saying, so you know
Hmm.
how to guess and avoid guessing something that's been guessed before. Um, you also do find yourself in a position where uh, if the person, at least as the contest, the version I submitted for the contest, if the person before you got a yes and helped kind of lock something in place, you then have a small chance to, be the first one to make a guess again as the contest submitted version. Um, so so there is no downtime, and when there's no downtime, that does leave room for more players. Um, would a better limit have been 6 or 8? I don't know. I didn't get that far with playtesting.
I mean, that's the thing, and I know that in my rule sheets, I make liberal use of the question marks and the phrase ish, ish, to be like, yeah, I've not tested this enough to be completely sure. It's from phrasal, it's from 5 to 15-ish players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you get that high, it becomes very much a matter of personal taste.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have, and getting really big groups together is difficult, even at the best of times. And also, yeah, it's going to be very much a matter of taste at that point.
Yeah, and
Um,
it may just as easily be that the maximum realistic number is 6, and that comes with more playtesting.
Now, do you have any takeaways from this particular game?
Um, I'm reminded that scoring is, well. I don't remember exactly how you said it earlier, but it brings out the way to incentivize a particular set of behaviors. Um, the notion of scoring can be made very complicated. It can be made very simple. For uh, I'm picturing a game like Agricola, where there are 14,000 ways to score points. Any sort of point salad game. Um, like I'm trying to think of, unless you're literally talking about the game Point Salad, most games that are called point salads are usually pretty complex. So
Hmm.
there's a correlation between how challenging the game is and how challenging the scoring should be. So the version I submitted basically gave you 1 point if the um, and you become the next word master. I like the notion of there being some points for guessing correctly or doing something more in terms of interim scoring, not just scoring at the end if you guess the word. Um, I didn't put a lot of thought into that, but there's definitely some room for improvement on that.
Yeah, and I mean, for sure, you could have something where, okay, take notes of things, but I think you actually said that we get cards to or score because, hey, you've got 48 cards, you're probably not going to use all of them. Why not use a bunch of them for the score?
Yeah.
And yeah, that, I mean, frankly, it's probably too variable, but I know that Saboteur
Mm-hmm.
has a thing where you get little cards, and on the backs of those cards, there might be 1, 2, or 3 gems. And so, hey, you've got 5 cards, but you might only have 5 points if you're unlucky. Whereas someone else might have 2 cards and still be insanely lucky. I managed to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
If you, and so it works because it's kind of a game all about hidden information. You don't want to know exactly who's winning, and it's a light party game. I mean, it could be something where, okay, probably again the spread is too much because it goes up to 5. But what if the number was the number of points that you were getting on a card, but then you got a card every time X happens?
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe.
Maybe you score points based on the position of the card. So guessing the first, if you get the first one correct, then that's a 1 point. If you guess the second card correct, that's 2 points. So you get this incentive to perhaps to go for the later letters in the word. If you've made a longer word, then maybe you might feel like you're giving points away. So maybe there's a required length of word, but that could be more challenging to come up with a word. Yeah, lots of different ways to
Oh
encourage.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, earlier on you alluded to a possibility. I don't think you actually said this, that you could have. You suggested if you say something correctly, then maybe you get to guess. But what
Mhm.
if you say guess a card correctly, you're allowed to guess another card. So you could keep guessing cards and then be like, okay, am I on the right track until, okay, I was actually wrong.
Mhm.
And then, so you, at least you're incentivized to give information to the other person. Because
Mhm.
if you keep getting it correct, then you will get the whole word.
Mhm.
Um, and then it kind of brings me to the notion of one person. I mean, have you played that? What am I thinking of? The one by Looney Labs, Zendo.
Flux. Zendo. Okay. Yeah. So in that game, you're making a rule, and you are trying to figure out what the. So one person makes the rule, and everyone else is trying to figure out what the rule is. Um, I think there's some other stuff to that game,
Sure, but
and
that's basically it. And everyone's trying to work out, okay, is this the rule? Is it not? And it's a case of the person who works out the rule is the winner for that round. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to work out the rule. And essentially, the person who did the rule is pretty much a moderator for that round.
mhm.
Similar to Werewolf, similar to your game, where the person who's giving the making the word is essentially acting as a moderator for
Okay.
that round. Um,
Yeah. So there's some like there might be some room for like if you're trying to um, if there needs to be some room for um, having the moderator get some sort of score, then maybe there's a score for every incorrect guess that's made. I think you said that during the video. Um,
I mean, I
so
think our conclusion was that if it becomes a one versus many, then the moderator is incentivized to do the most difficult word that they possibly can,
yeah.
which might not actually be fun for anyone, which led me to think that maybe it should be something more like Good Question or Doodles, where you're rewarded for doing something where you're going to make it last a certain length. But having
Hmm.
said that, keeping track of how many times it's gone round the table
Yeah.
is, for sure challenging.
Yeah. Then, and I remember as part of the contest entry, I remember you said that using paper and pen was allowed.
Mm,
I don't specifically
absolutely.
remember if it was a preference for games that didn't have that, or if it was an if necessary sort of thing. So, one reason for the scoring system, as simple as it was trying to avoid using paper and pen unless it really became necessary. Um,
I mean, there is a preference in my mind for L games, if possible, at least for the headline games, to
mhm,
have nothing other than the deck. I don't know how
mhm,
long that will continue for. And that is part of the reason that I am explicitly stating pen and paper is allowed. And frankly, anything is allowed, but I'm more likely to be stuff that's even more unlikely than pen and paper is more likely to be more of a black mark.
yeah.
I mean, fundamentally, if there's like the most amazingly fun game ever, and it just happens to use like a unique marker per player and a bits of paper and pen, that will probably win against something that's, yeah, this is pretty fun and it uses nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's definitely some. Obviously, there's some of the preferential type stuff. I think the next version of the game will try to balance the incentives for the word master to be challenging but not impossible.
Mm,
There might even be like I know on some of the cards there's a number. Like this is the version that
yep.
I have of yours. So there's a number. So maybe you draw some number of cards. Maybe you draw. Let's just say you draw 2 cards, and whichever 2 cards you draw, you look at the top number of the first one and the bottom, like maybe just the top
Like the
number.
top number is always 6.
The top number is always 6. Okay, so the bottom numbers of 2 cards, and so I get 5 and 4. So I want the game to last exactly 9 turns. However many players are playing, there like you get some semi-random number that you like. This is your goal as the designer. The closer you get to that goal, the more points you will score. So what I was thinking, like just now, is something like Dixit, where you have this balancing act. You don't want to have 0. You don't want to have all. You want to have somewhere between 1 and all, 1 and all but one of the players. So by giving you a target to aim for, you get that many points. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. I wonder if it could be actually after a certain number of rounds it stops and other people make their guess, and then the judge gets and then it's a Dixit thing. So let's say it goes with 2 people. Maybe there's 2 people guessing. Maybe it goes 3 times round the table. So there's been 6 guesses each. 6 guesses total.
Yeah.
And then after there, Dixit scoring. So if someone guesses correctly, they get a point. If if at least one, but not everyone guesses correctly, the judge gets a point.
And this number of rounds is secret. Only the word master knows how many rounds they're trying to make the game last. So players could potentially have this incentive of they want to guess early, they want to try to figure things out because they never know how long the thing will last. Because if they knew, well, I don't know. That's worth trying either way. If players knew that they had 7 rounds this time or 7 turns this time, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, okay, you go through that process and then everyone potentially writes down, okay, I think it's this word. Is it this word? And then judge says, yes. Oh no, everyone's gotten it.
So you made it too easy. Yeah. I know with part of the reason that works with Dixit is because the clue giver in Dixit is entirely in control of their clue. And once they've released that clue, they might then have that moment where they go, "Oh no, that clue was too easy," or "Oh no, the person I thought would get that clue didn't get that clue, and now no one got it." So maybe there's there might be. Well, yeah, it could work. When you pick the word, you're kind of giving that clue, if you will. You're picking a 6-letter word because you want the game to last longer. You're picking a 3-letter word because you want it to last shorter, or whatnot.
I mean, there's other opportunities of doing something like looking at other games, for example, having, okay, these are the cards that make my word, and I'm going to shuffle some number of extra cards in there. And so then that could get into that little bit of uncertainty for the judge clue giver and make it also a little bit easier for them to do. So maybe, okay, I'm going to do a 4-letter word, but we mix in 3 extra cards.
Exactly. And so one of the reasons for that in the rules, so in the rules in the contest submitted version, with the Heart of the Master, you'd lay out 7 or maybe 8 cards. The word master could create a 2 to 7 or 2 to 8-letter word. Part of that was to introduce the mindset that the word length isn't very important. What matters is that you answer correctly, truthfully to people's guesses. That said, playing a 2-letter word when you see 8 can definitely lead to some frustration. Is this card the first one? Is this card the first one? You can definitely be asking the same question over and over again. But once you find that, finding one card in a 2-letter word means you're basically there. You're practically done. You don't necessarily know it's a 2-letter word, but if you've pulled this sort of stunt before and people think you're about to pull the stunt, wait, is it two TO? And they go, yeah, it's you. All right.
Like, there's definitely a lot of ways that this game could go, and yeah, I think that to start winding up and to recap, where's my thing? So today we talked about traveling. We talked about letters and Hangul and how it was invented by a king. We talked about, potentially I should really have some place to put all these things, some central location, and timestamps would be nice. We talked about the importance of scoring because I keep going back to Gil Hova's amazing quote, which is, games are incentivizing interesting behavior, which is, and games are essentially their scoring system. I mean, sure, there's a lot of game design related stuff in activity design, and I'm not kind of going to denigrate anything which doesn't have a scoring system. I mean, for sure, Fables, but Fables thing, if anyone is happy, you all win. I mean, to some extent, that's setting expectations. That's saying, okay, this is an activity, and okay, but it's all about how are we incentivizing people to do the things that are fun, what's is fun, and let's do that. We talked about, quite a bit about how many things people should be allowed to submit. Thank you for that thing, and came to the conclusion that 3 was actually the perfect number. We talked a little bit about what's gone on here and there's a lot of completely different avenues that it would be really interesting to have it go down. Maybe it's some challenge where, whether it's finite rounds, but some system, there's probably a million ways that you could have hey, I'm thinking of some words that's made up of these things. How are you going to do it? And that's, now it's out there. I would love for you, or indeed anyone else, to take this basic concept and ponder, how would you make it work? How would you kind of do it? And I hope to see, it would be really nice to see kind of an evolution of this, even though this particular implementation, maybe there was a slight mismatch between what was incentivized and what is actually fun. But I want to say thank you very much to everyone who joined in. Thank you to Jess, to Andrew January, to Prey, to Jay Foolsguard, to Xate who jumped in, and most importantly to you, Chris, for jumping in. Thank you very much for jumping in, especially because it was a last minute sort of request. I only got in touch for this particular date less than a week ago. So it was really nice to be able to chat about this, and you are the first person who's publicly sharing their experience. So that was really nice to kick off the post, the LDEC design contest post-mortems, let's call them.
Yeah, that works. LEDPM. Sounds like a genre of music.
EDPM.
Like electronic dance music is EDM, right? So, LDEC post-mortems would be EDPM. So,
but it's an LDEC design contest, EDDCPM. No, 6 letters is not too much.
It was an acronym for the acronym, though.
If you have enjoyed this, then my website is stuffabez.com, stuffabez.bigcartel. You can buy my stuff, Twitter.com/stuffabez. I tweet a lot. Instagram.com/stuffabez. I share pictures of things I made, things I'm enjoying, or pretty things around the world. Twitch.tv/stuffabez is where I stream. Facebook.com/thingsstuffabez is a thing. And stuffabez@gmail.com is where you can get in touch. Now, Chris, I have your things on the YouTube and Facebook, and I'm going to copy and paste them into the Twitch chat. But
Yes.
if you wish to go over what is...
Sure. So, best place to see the games I'm working on is entrogames.com, ENTRO Games. I also help to run the virtual playtesting group, which meets Mondays and Thursdays. You can learn more about that at virtualplaytesting.com. I do occasionally tweet, and I'm not as active on Instagram as I'd like, but you can still see some fun board game pictures over at instagram.com/entrogames. And yeah, that's about it.
And so, yeah, Andrew January says Ed Kapum can be pronounced Ed Kapum.
Ed Kapum?
Maybe, I don't know.
Is it like what's it called? The Facebook group is Board Game Trading something UK.
Big cock. Big cock. You don't pronounce the G. Big cock. Can you not say it? Big cock.
I don't think I'll ever get that on. Just call it the full name, because if someone hears that, I'm gonna if I were to hear this out of context without knowing you're talking about not just a board game group or board games, but a specific board game group, I'd be like, "Bless you. You just sneezed." I think I'm not sure.
Okay, but moving on, what are we looking forward to? Hopes and ambitions. It's over to you for this final section. Now, here's where I ask everyone to share with us things they are looking forward to. So please tell me, what are you looking forward to straight after this stream? What are you looking forward to today? What you're looking forward to tomorrow or next week? I hope that you have things that you're looking forward to, maybe things you're hoping for. And please share them. If you don't feel comfortable sharing, that's absolutely fine. But I am looking forward to, after this stream, I'm going to make some more pictures out of player colors. I've opened up some things, and this is for the game that I mentioned, the scavenger hunt thing. And then I'm going to go through all the colors and then hopefully get as many of them as I can. And then I'm going to be running Micro Muckle at 2 p.m. in a few hours. And then I'm going to do that. And then I think I've got about half an hour to pack my bags and also pack up my stuff that's on the laundry line. So, and then my parents are going to pick me up. We're going to drive together. I have been somewhat isolating for a week, and then we're going to go up, drive for about 4 hours, and yeah, we're going to hang out together. And then hopefully I'll be able to get internet and continue those streams there. And we will find out tomorrow, I guess. So if you see me tomorrow at 10 a.m. and I'm not doing a stream, or if you come to twitch.tv/stuffabez and there's, 10 a.m. I might not have started yet. 10:02, if I'm not there yet, then potentially something's gone wrong and I will have to use my phone or something. But hopefully the internet will be fine and I'll stay there for a week, maybe even longer. And then just enjoying, I'm walking around in a new place. I'm really excited for that because I've been basically, feeling like I'm limited to this part. Yes, I can cycle down south, but if I can't go anywhere, I don't feel comfortable going to public loos or anything right now. And so that's not a great thing when, going somewhere to the other side of London is how long can I not have, how big is my bladder, basically. But anyway, I'm excited to be somewhere new. Yay!
Very cool. I will probably be joining some of the stuff happening with PAX. That started yesterday. I'll be joining a workshop later this evening. I'll have to check out Shelfapalooza at some point. This is their last day, today, Sunday. PAX is just getting warmed up, though. There is some playtesting I should do. There are about 4 pages of notes for a game that I've been slowly accumulating over the last couple of days. And like what I basically got these dry erase panels. So you go next time you go to your office store, your stationery sort of store, it's just basically a thick piece, just a thick clear piece of plastic. You put a piece of cardboard inside it, and then I just duct tape the corners here. So it's like a clipboard that you can write on with a dry erase board,
Nice.
with a dry erase marker. So for the sort of notes you don't necessarily want to fill a notebook with, because I also have those. Like, not even joking. This is notebook number 1 with shout out Cataclysm sticker. This was notebook number 2 for 2020. This was notebook number 3 for 2020. This was notebook number 4 for 2020. And I just started notebook number 5, which is very boring and very, but yeah, so when you get
here's to many more.
Here's to many more games. Here's to many more playtesting sessions. Here's to more games. And for those of you in the chat that may have been noticing, yes, I was drinking coffee as I was playing. I was also drinking coffee from a white cup, because I have 2 cups of coffee that I had when I started this event, and I wonder if any of you noticed.
I was not paying attention.
Like, I'm just sitting here, like sipping on a cup of coffee, and then I put it back down, and then I slowly come back over, and I grab the white one, and I grab the white one.
It's like that gorilla moments, if you know what's
yeah.
Exactly
like this.
I don't know what Odin was. I don't know if Odin was talking about when I was going up with my parents. Sorry to take this out of context. Sometimes there's a thing, and I want to acknowledge the comments. Again, I want to thank everyone who's been following along, and it's like, yeah, I want to encourage people to chat, and it's like, oh, I don't know what they said. Should I acknowledge it? Should I not? This is like the thing about streaming. This is what I'll be talking about with Chris Winterburn at some point in the future about, yeah, I guess we won't talk about streaming so much because Chris Winter, was the pronunciation of the name Ed Kapum or Big Cock? Which one? Which one's problematic? Big Cock.
The second one.
Big Cock.
Yeah. I'll explain when we're not recording.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah. There's not. That's the end of it. Share, spread the word. My next streams, well, I stream every day. If you want to go to find out what I'm doing on future days, then I would suggest that you follow this link, which I will paste in all the chats in just a moment. And then you will come to this page. So pasting to my Google Calendar. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about No Evil with Andrew January, and then Tally, building communities, and we will be playing something. I've got to decide. Probably I'll decide tonight or tomorrow morning what we're playing on Tuesday. If people have a preference, I think Sates might be there, hopefully. I mean, I'm going to try and make them shorter because it'll be like, oh yeah, let's play for an hour, but then still have time to engage with other things. Because I know that Loserpalooza's going on, and thank you very much for watching this rather than that. And I know that that's a big, lots of the people who come in at 8 p.m, they want to be gone at 9 p.m. So yeah, I'm going to try and play into that. And I've recently started feeling that, okay, some people want to come and maybe 2 hours is just a bit much in the middle of the day for Americans. Then there's a whole bunch of things coming up. You can check all that out. And yep, there is only one thing left to do. Do you have anything left to say before this moment, Chris?
thanks for running the contest. Thanks for being awesome. And I would love to see anyone that loves playing games on Mondays and Thursdays over in the virtual playtesting group. Again, more information, virtualplaytesting.com. Starts 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And the average event right now is running about 10 or 12 hours. No one stays the entire time. What usually happens is the people in the European time zones start the party, and then the Eastern time zone gets off of work, they've had their supper, and then they play for a few hours. Then the folks on the Pacific and the Mountain time zones play for a few hours, and then, they just keep going. At some point, we'll get the Asians and the Aussies on board, and so the whole thing can just go all around the world. It's a virtual first group that has really grown to something amazing. So if you're free, it's completely free. There is a code of conduct, and we're open to anyone that is a designer or a playtester. Just be an awesome person.
And that sounds like an amazing thing. Congratulations well done on the group that you've built up, I believe, along with Ian Brocklebank.
Yes.
And thank you, Odin. Lovely to hear. And to finish off, I just want to say bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye. I'm still here.